Chris Scouser here with
Matt Howell.
And on this episode of The First Run, Matt and I are going to travel back in time in preparation for next week's Bill and Ted Face the Music episode. And we accidentally ended up in Soviet Kazakhstan in 1983. Turns out there's a couple of cosmonauts, Matt, that have landed with a third unidentified passenger, and things are not going to go well. And then we're going to go ahead and quantum leap back to 2019 and hang out with Julia Garner as she portrays Jane, a production assistant. I'm doing all the prep work right now, aren't I? I'm giving you all the background stuff, which we don't normally do, so I guess we're going to take it easier this week. She plays Jane, who is an assistant at a film production company, Matt, dreaming of becoming a big producer. Unfortunately, there's something very Miramaxy about this company. There's a quick discussion of the big releases on physical media featuring your straight-to-DVD and streaming picks of the week. And then finally, Matt and I will share our 5 favorite whistleblower films. But Matt, let's go ahead and just go right into our favorite Soviet. I know Matt is a big-time fan of the Soviet Union, big commie. So he'll be able to relive some stuff that he'd never really got to enjoy. Wait, that doesn't make sense at all. Either way, let's hear a clip from Sputnik.
После приземления Вишнякова отправили на реабилитацию. В первую же ночь эта штука появилась и напала на медработника. В целях безопасности пришлось перевести сюда. Безопасного способа разделить их пока не нашли. С Вишняковым паразиту удалось создать уникальную связь. Мы пробовали изолировать, но без нее жизненные показатели Вишнякова резко падают. Для нее он что-то вроде скафандра во враждебном мире. При этом существо дает феноменальные возможности к регенерации. Получив травму при приземлении, Вишняков восстановился всего за 2 дня.
Exactly. So, Matt, I kind of gave a little bit of a background about the film, but what else happens in Sputnik? We got where the astronauts crash land. Where do we kind of go from there without getting too spoilery?
As Chris said, astronauts or cosmonauts crash land in Soviet Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan.
I believe it's Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan. One of them has apparently an alien creature that is hitched a ride in his body, and he is being kept quarantined and away from the general populace in this remote military installation, and isn't even aware that he's infected with something. And a doctor comes in to assess him and determine if maybe the two of them can be separated.
And she's a doctor, Matt, that breaks all the rules.
She does. She almost drowns a patient and says that she does nothing wrong. That's how we're introduced to her at the beginning of the film.
Badass. Mm-hmm. So, Matt, Sputnik, listen, we both love a good sci-fi film. We love a little bit of some horror mixed in there as well. We have kind of a mix mash of Alien and some other kind of films. So how successful is Sputnik?
I think it's pretty successful. It's not a Hollywood blockbuster, which is obviously not a bad thing. I think it's got it really definitely sets a mood of kind of this kind of claustrophobic, otherworldly, has kind of thingish vibes a little bit. Has some vibes around Life a little bit when we saw that a few years ago. But overall, I think the atmosphere of this thing really sells it. They don't show the creature too much. What they do show is done pretty well. I think it's pretty effective. They don't know what they're doing as this kind of builds to a climax is very, it works for me. And I get this oppressive sense of Soviet government. I think it kind of all that is conveyed very well. I thought it was a very strong, solid film.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. I think it starts off full of dread and creepiness. I think kind of things start to slow down a bit after that. I think the opening of this thing is a bit of a roller coaster, right? And it's a rocket, and things once we get to the facility, I think things do kind of slow a little bit. I do enjoy the Cold War kind of paranoia part of it, right? Where this kind of hidden evil within us speaking out and possibly trying to ferment some civil unrest in the Soviet Union at this point. Everybody kind of talks in hushed tones and everything. And there's a reason why they do that, because why they said it in 1983 is to kind of take advantage of that part of Russian history. But that's part of my problem with it as well. I feel that this concoction of Alien and, as you said, Life, I would say there's a head fake almost dusting of Arrival at the end as well, in Soviet era oppression, doesn't quite go far enough for me. I think in the end, as a genre exercise, it works really well. It's well done, but I don't think it exploits the natural conceits of the film that they establish enough for me. Maybe I would like it to have been a little more scarier, a little darker, more intense, a little more violence. I don't know what it is. It's just, I feel like they kind of eased back on this a little bit, and they could have made it a much more intense experience than they went through. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I guess that's interesting. I think I appreciated the fact that it wasn't really this kind of stereotypical horror action film. And I don't want to give too much away, but I kind of appreciated the kind of more claustrophobic, personal, kind of more the evils that government does is again, the old sci-fi cliche is that we're the monster kind of thing. So I don't know. I appreciated all those things. I thought it was a nice change of pace that, we didn't have that same kind of breakneck action. And usually I'm the first one of the two of us to complain when something is over long. I mean, this is 2 hours for a horror film. If you're going to be 2 hours, you better be a pretty good 2 hours. That didn't bother me in this case. I found the pacing fine. And I think they were smart to stick to something a little more measured, let's say, than trying to go all out if it was beyond their capabilities, because that has to be done right as well if it's going to work out good.
No, that's true. I think I just like the idea of the whole concept of the film is interesting. The setting really provides a unique atmosphere for this type of science fiction kind of B genre film. I don't know if the B film is really fair, but it's pretty close to that for me. The paranoia and desperateness of the people around it, right? All the stuff that I think that a film like Alien nails so perfectly. Sputnik does an adequate, if not maybe a little bit better the job than adequate, but it's just not on par with the work of like that, an Alien or an Arrival. I would compare it to something like Life. I think this is better than Life.
Yeah, I would say it's better than Life.
But it's solid. It's entertaining enough. It features a big Hans Zimmer-esque score at times too, which I liked. I enjoyed that quite a lot. It helps, again, set the atmosphere and everything that's happening here. The stakes, by this big roaring kind of drums that Zimmer's known for. But overall, it left me a little bit lacking, particularly at the end with the Kodo, when we have the introduction of the kid, and we have not introduction, but when she goes to meet the kid, right? And then we have that reveal of her having a similar experience.
Right.
That it felt kind of tacked on to me. So I'm not sure, Matt. In the end, I'm going to give Sputnik a B-. What did you think of the ending? And then what are you going to give it as a grade?
I think it was fine. I mean, I guess it was a little bit of an eye roll to me, but I guess for everything preceding it and as much as I enjoyed it, I give it a pass. And I think Chris is on the money. I think, although I will say this, my esteemed co-host is correct in saying that, this isn't in the same league as like an Alien or Arrival or, The Thing or something like that. But those are titans of the genre. I mean, right. You can't really expect that something like this is even going to approach those heights. And honestly, I went into this really, really blind. I knew next to nothing about it. I didn't know what kind of buzz it was getting. So with that, having zero expectations, I thought it was quite effective. I think I enjoyed it better than Chris did. I don't think I liked it. I don't think it's B+ material, but I'm going to give it a really solid B, a high B for me.
That works. Yeah, I mean, just some touches like the Russian doll toy. It's a bit on the nose. Yeah. There are little things like that. But overall, I think it's worth checking out. Is it worth renting for like $6-7? Yeah, I think so. If you like these kind of creature features, I think the alien monster creature thing is really well designed. I think the way it adapts and changes. I don't say it doesn't. With what's shown to you and then what reveals, I'm trying to say this without revealing anything. I think it's a really well designed monster. So kudos to that as well. All right, Matt, if you've had a chance to see Sputnik, well, I know you have. If anybody else has had who's listening, shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. So let's go ahead, Matt, and spend a few minutes to talk about what's coming up on physical media this upcoming Tuesday, September 1st. September. Jeez.
We can't win unless it turns out that this town isn't the Mayberry everybody thinks it is.
We're the good guys, right?
Yeah, we're the good guys.
When they go low.
We go high.
Unless we also need to go low, apparently.
Only to keep those who would go lower out of power.
So when they go low, we go higher incrementally in relation to how low they went.
Regrettably, yes.
When they go low, we go almost as low, but we feel worse doing it.
So that is a clip from Jon Stewart's latest film that he wrote and directed featuring Steve Carell. You also heard Mackenzie Davis there. Rose Byrne and Chris Cooper are in this, as well as Topher Grace. I gotta tell you, Matt, those trailers were underwhelming for that film. And I don't know if we'll check it out for the show. I have no drive to see this thing whatsoever.
Are you going to mention the name of the film?
Oh, it's Irresistible. That's a good point.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Jon Stewart's Irresistible. Includes some deleted and extended scenes, a gag reel, and a couple making-of featurettes. Megan Fox returns in Rogue. She plays Samantha O'Hara, who leads a group of mercenaries on an African mission to rescue schoolgirls, but their effort hits a snag when they find themselves out of ammunition and lost while trying to fight off kidnappers and wild animals. Man, I was thinking about this the other day, too. Megan Fox got done wrong.
Yeah,
she's stuck in those Transformer films, and just Bay exploiting her, and then, of course, Jennifer's Body, which is great if you haven't checked out. It's a lot of fun. You should see that if you haven't seen it. But I just feel like just a woman who just, I don't know, Hollywood kind of chewed her up and spit her out. I'm glad she's still working and doing stuff, and good for her. It's just, I think somebody who could have kind of been a pretty big star and just didn't seem to pan out so far. We'll see. Blood Quantum being released. Matt, the dead are coming back to life outside the isolated Mi'kmaq reserve of Red Crow, except for its indigenous inhabitants who are strangely immune to the zombie plague. Shudder is releasing Terrified. When strange events occur in a neighborhood in Buenos Aires, a doctor specializing in the paranormal, her colleague, and an ex-police officer decide to investigate further. I'm telling you, things are tough right now out there. We're not getting a lot of big releases. New to Blu-ray, Synapse is releasing The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue. I understand this is a big cult film out of the UK. Includes a steelbook, a Blu-ray, DVD, and CD. There are only 6,000 copies of this version being released. A brand new exclusive 4K restoration from the original 35mm camera negative. A new 5.1 stereo surround remix exclusively from Synapse. And then some older extras, 2 audio commentaries, and some brand new Blu-ray exclusive features as well on the making of the film, including a feature-length documentary. Are you familiar with The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue? I know I've heard of it, but I don't know that much about it.
No, I'm not familiar.
Yeah, so it's 2 traveling companions, and they come across a small town infested with the living dead that are satisfying their cannibalistic hunger on anyone they come across. And it turns out that they discover some agricultural machine using radiation waves is the root of all the havoc. It's supposed to be, I guess, okay. I don't know if it is deserving of the cult praise I assume that it seems to have. The original Death on the Nile is being released because Kenneth Branagh and his mustache are returning in short order here in the States. It includes a new 2K restoration of the film, completed on behalf of Studio Canal, a brand new audio commentary as well. Vinegar Syndrome is giving us the 11th commandment. A murderous psycho breaks out of a mental hospital and goes after his rich uncle, who killed his father and assaulted his mother. Matt, this is the second week in a row. I want to get your opinion on something.
Okay.
In the description of the film, it actually reads, raped his mother. And it's the second week in a row I've used the term assaulted instead, because I'm uncomfortable saying that word.
Right.
What do you think? Since that's the write-up, and that's, I guess, what happens, should I say that, or should I stick with assaulted? I'm torn on that.
I understand why you wouldn't, but I think it's important to say what the act is, because assault has, a broader meaning. I mean, I could punch you in the face, and that's still an assault.
Yeah. And it diminishes the intensity or severity of the attack.
Right. Or, I could grab your ass, and that's also an assault.
Yeah.
Those are all very different things than a rape. So
that's true. All right. I guess I'll just. All right. Fair enough. The brand new 2K restoration of that film from the 35mm Inner Positive, and a few interviews as well. Code Red is releasing Toy Soldiers. No, not that Toy Soldiers. This is from 1984. While vacationing off the coast of Central America, a group of college students are kidnapped by a rebel death squad who announce plans to execute the hostages. But one of the students, Terry Garber of North and South, makes a daring escape. She puts together her own jungle assault team that includes a pair of hard-living combat veterans, Jason Miller of The Exorcist, and Cleavon Little of Blazing Saddles. as well as a baseball bat wielding party animal played by Tim Robbins. I have never heard of this thing.
Me neither.
But it sounds interesting. It's a brand new remaster of that film. Getting 4K releases, Matt. I think I bemoaned last week or the other week how we really don't see box sets, like special super editions of things anymore. I think the last one was like The Dark Knight Rises with the crushed Batman cowl, was part of the Blu-ray, which I do indeed have. Well, we seem to be getting back into that with 4K stuff. So there's a Beetlejuice gift set, which includes a handbook for the recently deceased. Remember the book that they got?
Yeah.
There's a replica of the Beetlejuice poster that's kind of torn in half and how to get a hold of them, and then a patch as well. Best Buy has an exclusive steel book that looks pretty sharp. Special features-wise, though, all I could really find were 3 episodes of the cartoon and a trailer, which seems like really a big missed opportunity here.
Mm-hmm.
And then Goonies is getting a big set. It looks kind of like a small treasure chest gift box. Includes a map, a patch, and some buttons. Best Buy also has an exclusive steelbook for this Goonies re-release. Includes Richard Donner's commentary, a making of outtakes, and a Cyndi Lauper video. Finally, both Sherlock Holmes films featuring Robert Downey Jr. are getting 4K releases this upcoming Tuesday. Your straight-to-DVD pick of the week, Matt, is Fast and Fierce. What do you think we're biting off of here?
I wonder.
Jack Tyson is on his way to grabbing the cash prize for an illegal car race from Mexico to California when a desperate woman fleeing from her gangster boyfriend who runs the tournament jumps into his car, pleading for help. Featuring DMX and Fresh with a $sign. I'm old and I do not know who that is. What should we be streaming this week?
As longtime listeners may be shocked to learn, I'm probably the nerdier of the two of us. And lately my love of tabletop role-playing games have been reborn as they're receiving a renaissance, and being able to play remotely has become much easier. Where I'm going with this is recently a company purchased out White Wolf's Vampire the Masquerade and released a new edition of it a few months ago. I haven't read it yet, but I do remember liking that game when I was younger. And of course, it made me want to go track down some of the films that were kind of inspired of that, those kind of early 90s, late 80s films that are about that. So I checked out the Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise vehicle, Interview with the Vampire, available on HBO Max, based off of the Anne Rice book of the same name, where a mopey, tortured, beautiful vampire played by Brad Pitt tells his life story to an interviewer through flashback. And it kind of set up the whole, for better or worse, tortured gothic vampire. But it's very well done, and it's worth checking out if you're into those kind of genre films.
I haven't seen that thing since it came out, I think.
Really?
So does it hold up? It still works, huh?
I mean, if you know what you're getting into. I mean, the thing is vampires as a monster, there's not a whole lot of choice out there, I don't think, of like good, decent to good films. And I think this is definitely still in the decent to good film camp for if you're into that kind of a monster film.
I'm just so tired of. I just don't like weepy, morbid, kind of depressed vampires.
Sure. Well, I mean,
like Twilight bad. But...
Yeah, no, but I mean, this is kind of the one that set the template. I mean, that's, for better or worse, that's what this is. So that's that is what it is.
Give me a Bram Stoker's Dracula, even with Kahanu's accent.
Yeah, it's quote unquote accent, but Bram Stoker's Dracula is a weepy tortured vampire through 90% of that as well.
That's true, but it's a gorgeous film.
Yeah, it is.
All right, fair. I bought that color time changed Frank Langella's Dracula film from Scream a while back. I've been meaning to watch that. I still haven't cracked that open. It has both versions. Yeah. I guess there was the washed out version that the director really preferred, which is a version you've only been able to get for decades on home video. But they actually had the original theatrical one that's much more vibrant in color and stuff that was released.
Okay.
So I got to check that out too if I'm going to get in a vampire thing. I don't know. I'm trying to plot out my Halloween watches now since we're about to clip into September.
Yeah, we are. I mean, Neil Jordan directed this thing.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. All right. So let's spend a couple minutes and talk about DC Fandrome. So I was able to catch up, Matt, with all the big stuff, right? I got to see the Black Adam discussion with Dwayne Johnson, the Suicide Squad reveal of all the characters, Wonder Woman 1984, that new trailer, the Justice League Snyder Cut trailer, teaser, and then finally the teaser for The Batman. So I think we should go in descending order of awesomeness.
Okay.
And I think I may start with, well, no, that's not true because I'm not going with Justice League first because I did not like that at all. And we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Well, no, let's do it. Justice League.
Yeah.
Or as Zack Snyder says, a movie for grown-ups.
Oh my God.
Who is, I'm off the train after watching that trailer because I remember I discussed about possibly renting a theater, right?
Yeah.
And showing that thing. And now, first off, it's 4 1-hour episodes that they're going to then combine at some point into one thing that you'll be able to buy, I believe. But it's going to premiere on HBO Max as 4 1-hour episodes. But his reuse of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah again, after revealing for me, I think, or exposing him as the absolute worst scene he's ever done in Watchmen when he used it the first time, where the Silk Spectre and the owl have their love scene, and he uses that song. It just crushed. I don't know what, because it showed to me that he's still making horrible decisions. Now, I have no issues with that song itself, though I will say I think Jeff Buckley's version is actually much better. But it's still, it tonally, it doesn't, I don't know. Now, I was speaking to one of my brothers-in-law, and he stated, well, he thought maybe it was because it was Hallelujah, because they're actually making the Snyder cut, like, Hallelujah, it's actually happening.
Right.
Which I don't know if that helps for me, but I am officially off the train now. I don't know what it is. It's as I said, it illustrated to me that he still doesn't get it, or he's making poor decisions. And I also saw something on Twitter about some interview he did about Superman, and somebody did in that uppercase, lowercase thing. You know, like, Zack Snyder doesn't understand Superman, like that sarcastic way. Yeah. And I read it and I'm like, yeah, no, he doesn't understand it. So it just solidified really everything that I was worried about is actually probably going to come to pass. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean...
And wait, just to interrupt you, it's just mostly just stuff we saw the first time around when they did the first teasers for the film. There's really, I think there's only a couple minutes, maybe 30 seconds, 15, 20 seconds of actually kind of new footage in here. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, well, they don't want to spoil the new footage for you, do they?
I know, but still.
I know. I'll be frank. I never really understood the pull and the call to release this thing. Zack Snyder has he's never really wowed me as a filmmaker. I never thought he was a creative vision that I could get behind. Watchmen, if I can say one good thing about his comic book work is that he's really good at making like living comic panels type, like on the screen kind of thing. But that's it. Like, he doesn't understand the nuances of what these things are. He doesn't understand the characters he's putting out there. And that's so weird to say about a comic book, which for the longest time was a kid's medium, but he doesn't get it. And his entire shtick is just completely unsuited for these characters. And he single-handedly has almost sunk a franchise off of one of the biggest, like, comic book movies should print money, and these are huge characters, and he couldn't get it right. And I don't understand people's like desire to see this. Like, this thing is not going to be any better. I mean, even if Joss Whedon's hand was on the original of it, how much of that was Joss or Zack Snyder footage? 70%, 85%. You think it's going to be that much better if he edits it together, his own footage a little different? No. This is going to be a disaster. I don't understand what the pull is for this thing.
I don't think the percentage is that high. I thought they did some extensive reshoots, but I also know they color changed a lot of stuff, like the big climactic battle against Steppenwolf has a very different aesthetic look to it than Snyder's does. Not that not that Snyder's version will be better, but there's a lot of this stuff I don't understand either. Like Warner Brothers occasionally announcing like they want to do a new Man of Steel film, but they can't figure out how to do Superman in today's day and age, which blows my mind. I mean, if any character it would be suited for now, it would be Superman, this living embodiment of hope, right? And just listen, if you can pull off Captain America and make it work, you can do Superman. And that's the other thing too. I don't need a cookie cutter Marvel film, right? Where everything follows the same trajectory, everything's very similar. we can have some artistic merit and stuff, and we'll talk about that, I think, when we talk about the Batman. But I don't know, Matt. I don't understand the problem here. I don't know if they just keep putting the wrong people in charge and just making the wrong decisions. I really thought when Abrams was coming in, right, he signed that exclusive Warner Brothers deal, that maybe they were going to hand him the DCEU. Because say what you want about Abrams, he makes some damn entertaining films for the most part. And those Star Trek movies are a lot of fun. And I just don't, that's all I'm asking for, really. Just high quality, fun entertainment.
That's not too much to ask, but I think really what you got to understand is, think of the medium that these things came from. They need a strong editorial hand to kind of guide the ship, right? And all of the successful runs of DC and Marvel in their comic book form have been marked by eras. Like, you have the editor-in-chief, and he guides what's going to come out, and that's what really makes or breaks these things. Marvel, for all the criticisms you can throw at it, at the very least, has produced entertaining films for the most part. Some of the biggest films that people love and people are going to remember. And I think the biggest reason for that is Feige. DC still does not have a Feige. Like, I think, what was it? Jeff Johns was supposed to be coming on.
Yeah.
And they need somebody who understands the characters, who understands what he wants to do. And, you know, while I don't want it to be cookie cutter per se, at least he can come in and say, you know, hey, Zach, that's not the right way to play this, or I would never even have hired Zack Snyder in the first place after the first pitch meeting, kind of thing.
Yes.
So, like, that's what they need. They don't have somebody who understands those things as well as Kevin Feige does the Marvel characters. I almost wish they could just, like, have Kevin Feige come in and, like, secretly do it. Like, he could be, you know, what's the director name? Smithy or something?
Alan Smithy?
Alan Smithy. He could come in and guide the ship. I mean, yeah, I don't get it either. I didn't think it would be this hard. So, I mean, it's really, maybe that just makes the Marvel films all the more impressive. I mean, even though you can say that they all look the same, or they just kind of dull you with their similarity, at the same time, they've managed to put out an entertaining product, which, by what DC has with arguably bigger characters, they cannot seem to do, which maybe means this is harder than we thought.
Even the Wonder Woman film, which is good, is still, I don't think, great.
No, it's not. It's like a B- film. It's like, okay, that was good. Let's see. But now I expect you to blow me away with the second one.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll find out hopefully at some point. Another thing too, James Wan, I guess they're in early planning stages for Aquaman, and they said they want to dial things back a bit. And I'm like, no. Don't you dare take away my, like, writing large crocodiles or sharks or whatever. No. Aquaman, that thing needs to be kind of over the top. And arguably it's been Aquaman against all odds was at least fun, and you know Shazam was super fun. They still had their serious moments, but they were fun. That's the whole thing that these things are missing. Why doesn't, and also to your Superman point, I don't see why somebody doesn't go read All-Star Superman and then come back and plug it in and like use that as your template, and that's your next Superman film. Use that as your jumping off point going forward. That's what they should do. That would be perfect. I agree.
I'll take a check. You know, I'll leave $1 million fighter fee. That's all I ask for.
Smart.
Consulting fee.
So let's run down the cast of characters in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. Remember, not just Suicide Squad, the indefinite article is very important. Viola Davis returns as Amanda Waller, as does Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flag, and Margot Robbie and Harley Quinn. And finally, which is a crazy thing to say, probably one of the few bright spots of that first Suicide Squad film, Jay Courtney as Captain Boomerang. And then new players, we have Idris Elba as Bloodsport, David Dastmalchian, I know I'm nailing that, Polka Dot Man, John Cena as Peacemaker, which I think is going to be a blast.
Yeah.
Michael Rooker is Savant, Falula Borg, who's a very funny guy, is Javelin, Danielle Michour is Ratcatcher 2, I believe she's his daughter. Peter Capaldi is the Thinker, Mei Ling Ning is Mongol, of course, sister of Mongol, the classic Superman villains. Pete Davidson is Blackguard. Alicia Braga is Solsoria. I think some of the speculation is that she's the daughter of the first Solsoria, or maybe they just gender swapped it. I'm not sure. Nathan Fillion is TDK. We're not quite sure who that is. Online buzz is he's a new version of Arm Fall Off Boy, and maybe he's like the detachable kid, is what they think it is. Sean Gunn is Weasel, again playing some kind of weird-looking rodent, and then probably one of the most fun things about it is King Shark is going to be in this as well.
Yes. Who's voicing King Shark?
I don't think we know yet for sure.
Okay.
Odds are it's Taika Waititi, but we're not sure yet.
Okay. I don't know who like 80% of those characters are, but I'm all on board for this thing.
Yeah, I'd say half of them aren't going to make it through, nor should they. So we'll see what happens. You know, Polka Dot Man's getting taken out like in the first 20 minutes or something.
Well, no, maybe they'll flip the script. Maybe Polka Dot Man's going to be the ultimate survivor, you know?
That's true. I could see Gunn doing that. Gunn supposedly said this is the most fun he's had making a film. It's like
Really?
everything he's ever wanted to do. So we'll see what happens. All right. What else? Black Adam. Oh, I skipped right over that. Black Adam, not much there. Just some character reveals. For me, though, what I'm really excited about is Dr. Fate. One of my all-time favorites. They're going to introduce the Justice Society here. Atom Smasher's in this as well. And Hawkman. And who else? We'll see who else pops up. But I'm really quite excited to check that out. I think Dwayne Johnson is the perfect fit for Black Adam. We'll see what happens with that film. Will this finally be the franchise, Matt, that he deserves? Like the stuff, you know, because Schwarzenegger's got Terminator, right? And Stallone's got Rocky and Rambo. Will this be it for him? I don't think so.
He's got Jumanji. What else does he need?
That's true. And Fast and Furious, I guess. What'd you think of the Dr. Fate, Hawkman, and all that stuff reveal?
I thought it was cool. I think it's an interesting choice to kind of base a film awesome on a villainous character for most of his origin, played a villain. It'll be interesting to see how they pull this off. And I'll be really interested to see how this connects back into my boy Shazam, which is, again, my favorite of the DC films so far. So we'll see.
Fair enough. And then Wonder Woman 1984, a solid trailer. We finally get the reveal of Cheetah and what she's going to look like. Mm-hmm. I think I enjoyed the first trailer more. We do get a lot more information in this one, so if you want to avoid any spoilers, I would say do not check out the latest Wonder Woman trailer. But still, it looks like it's going to be pretty fun, and I think we get our explanation of how Chris Pine returns generally. So, I don't know. But I'm still all about Pedro Pascal and Chris Pine, Gal Gadot. It was weird, too, watching that Snyder reveal about Justice League, because he calls her Gal Gadot. I'm like, you don't know how to say Gal Gadot? I didn't know, but I hadn't worked with her.
That's very true.
Either way, what do you think of Wonder Woman 84? Yeah,
I think I preferred the first one much more, and I think really the reason for that is the music.
Lean much more into the 80s.
New Order stuff.
Synth,
which I was really on board for. It kind of got me jazzed for it. I'll be interested to see Kristen Wiig as a supervillain action star, which is not something we've ever seen from her really in the past. So I'll be curious to see how she pulls that off. And while I know it's not finished and stuff, I still got a little nervous. I was a little underwhelmed by the kind of CG weightless, like it didn't look great Cheetah. Like, it gave me flashbacks to Steppenwolf and Ares from the first film. Like, guys, you could have made that a little more solid. So we'll see what the final product looks like. Yeah,
we'll see. All right, finally, Matt, your thoughts on the Batman trailer from Matt Reeves?
I'm cautiously optimistic about this. There are things that I really, really liked. And he doesn't give you very much information, so this is just me speculating. But I like that if the rumor is that the Riddler is the main villain, and I kind of like the whole, if he's played like a Zodiac kind of taunting the cops kind of thing. I thought that would be a really clever way to go as opposed to the campy Riddler that we're used to. I'm curious to see who the painted thugs work for, because they certainly look like they work for the Joker. But from what I understand, Joker's not really in this, so maybe they work for the Penguin. I don't know. I liked the early look of the Catwoman, and I think the only thing I wasn't super on board with was the few glimpses of Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne. I wasn't quite sure I liked the 1992 hair parted down the middle look that he had going on, and he was like super pasty. He didn't really portray to me like billionaire playboy. Like he just looked like somebody's surly nephew at the reception or something.
I'm not so much worried about that. Out of all the Batman films we've seen, and in particular I think Nolan's films are kind of known to be Well, they try to be kind of rooted in the real world, right?
Sure.
I think that from what we've just seen in this teaser trailer, that Reeves blows that out of the water. I mean, this stuff looks authentic, as if Batman actually existed. I like the costume. We have a kind of a better reveal of the suit. I think it looks really good. I like the new Batmobile, which kind of almost looks like a Batman 66. If you've seen any of that stuff, right? I mean, I don't know. I think it looks really good. I'm really excited about that. I love Colin Farrell as the Penguin there, and the makeup almost unrecognizable.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff in here. I think the introduction of how do you put it? I guess the fight scene that he has with that one guy is...
Beatdown, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, it is so vicious. When that final stand-up punch goes, the way that bad guy's body just shoots down, it's very visceral, very intense. I'm wondering if that'll kind of carry through the film. I'm really excited about this. I am cautiously optimistic as well. I think Reeves does a great job building worlds. Those last 2 Planet of the Apes films he did, particularly the first one he did, the second one in the series, is great. And I'm kind of really excited to see how this thing turns out. I get nothing but positive vibes from that Batman trailer.
Yeah, same. Looking forward to it.
All right. What are your thoughts on DC Fandrome? Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Let's spend a few minutes, Matt, and talk about The Assistant.
What's your plan?
Sorry?
Where do you want to be in 5 to 10 years?
Oh, I want to produce. I want to be a producer.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay, that's excellent. We could use more women producers. It's a tough job, but I can see that you've got what it takes.
Thanks.
So why are you in here trying to throw it all away over this bull?
So that is a clip from The Assistant, and possibly, Matt, one of the most heartbreaking and disturbing scenes in the film for me, when Jane goes to HR. So basically, she is a newly hired assistant. Well, she's been there for a few months. Excuse me. She's an assistant at this production company. She hopes one day to be a producer, and she's seeing things around her happening. The possible exploitation of some young women, the verbal abuse of other people who work in the office. And cleverly, Matt, almost all of it happening off camera, off the phone. You never really see anything. You may hear something, hushed tones on a phone line, or small things like she goes into the office at one point and cleans off the couch, right? Everything here. What I love about this thing, Matt, I will tell you, is how subtle everything is. Right, everything is kind of presented to you, but not in your face. Where this film succeeds is in its storytelling and its craft. When you have stuff, just absolute abysmal failures like Bombshell, which attempt to kind of tackle similar content and subject matter. Have you seen Bombshell? That Fox News thing?
No.
It is not good. It's very rah-rah, kind of... There's no rise up against a patriarchy triumphant moment in this film that's, so overly done like it is in Bombshell. This is no frills, Matt. Every piece, every scene furthers its tightly constructed narrative. And I think that the writer-director, Kitty Green, does a great job building this world, sketching out this company and its internal power structure, not only its structure, and how it's ruled by an iron fist by this abusive Harvey Weinstein stand-in. What are your thoughts on The Assistant?
Again, I didn't know. I'd heard of this film. I didn't know that much about it going into it. I was funny. After I watched it, I looked it up on Google, and sometimes they'll list out what people are saying about the film, and it says these are the top ones: overrated, boring, slow. Those are the top audience.
Not
top,
at all.
Yeah, and I said, I don't think I don't agree with that at all. I was completely riveted by this thing. Mm-hmm. I think Julia Garner does an excellent job of just conveying everything that you need to know through just body language and just what you can see on her face.
Yeah.
Just how beaten down that she is. This is something that she wants, but she's really wrestling with herself about whether this is something that's even worth it to kind of sell her soul to do. Even though you say she's selling her soul, and that's such a dramatic turn of phrase, what really strikes you about this is just how insidious and just mundanely quiet all of this is. It's just like a Like everybody else is just so jaded. It's just like, yep, this is the way it is. You deal with the wife today, or like the production assistant bringing in a new actress and like just being completely blasé about what's going to happen and walking out and all that kind of stuff. And it's not even the parts that the implied, sexual power dynamics that are put on other people, not necessarily on Julia Garner's character, but just really the kind of dehumanization of her in general, having to do this kind of menial work where she has to work long hours, she has to work the weekend, she has to be there at his beck and command, she has to put up with all the crap just to keep him away from it, and gets no praise for it. It's really often just a look of like the industry and just working as a young person, trying to make something of yourself, and just all the shit that you got to go through for the kind of quote unquote paying your dues. It's just I thought it was a very powerful film. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, I agree. It is an exceptional piece, and just imagine getting your dream job and having it turn into this nightmare. And I want to compliment too Kitty Green on the structure of this film, or at least the technical merits of it. There's the lack of music, right? There's no swelling scores, no dramatic moments, right? She lets this film speak in sound design. It does all of the work. I think worthy of an Oscar nomination. It's really that strong in this film. And also, let's praise Julia Garner as you did as Jane. I mean, what about even small things like that, right? It's a film about a whistleblower. Her name is Jane, obviously reflecting like Jane Doe, right? Who anonymous whistleblowing stuff. So it's really, she delivers a fantastic performance in this, just like you said. And as we stated in the beginning, the most intense scene in the film is her discussion with Matthew McFadden. That whole thing, if you were to watch this film, let it play out, it just shows you how these matters continue to exist. And it's just exceptionally well done. How Green shoots her, right? How she's always shown in isolation. Even when she's acting or with other people, you can see she's truly alone. And just like you said, through her body language as well. It's fantastic, Matt. I'm giving the assistant an A.
Yeah, I don't know if I would give it an A. I'm going to give it an A minus, just because I like to reserve A films for things that just absolutely blow me away. So I'm not a fraud like you are.
That's fine.
I'm just giving you a little bit of a hard time.
No, you're right. You're right. I probably should reconsider that too, because I don't know if, yeah, that's fair. But it is top quality stuff here. So yeah, try and go in as cold as you can, though I guess it doesn't work if you just listen to this discussion. But yeah, The Assistant. If you've had a chance to see it, shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com. Anything else to add, Matt, about it?
I don't think so. Although I will say it was a little weird watching Julia Garner without an accent, since she's a main character on Ozark with a very heavy Southern accent. So, which is a really good show if you haven't seen it.
I haven't. I'm actually more familiar with her turn in The Americans.
Also very good as well. But she's a big character in Ozark.
Fair enough. All right, Matt, let's spend some more time, because I can't say let's spend a few minutes talking, because I said it, I think, 3 times so far. Let's discuss our 5 favorite movies featuring whistleblowers.
Who the hell are you? Who are you? The police. Who the hell you think we are? Fuck against the wall. Up. Shield. You want to see shield? All right. There's my shield.
Where you from? The borough, Manhattan 8. Yeah. No, goddammit. No, you're not from the borough. I just paid the borough this morning.
Hey, Frank.
The hell kind of shakedown is this?
Who'd you pay in the borough? Nobody. I didn't pay no. Who did you pay in a borough?
Matt, Serpico is an honorable mention for me. That is a clip you just heard, because I've never seen the whole thing all the way through.
Okay.
I think I've seen 65% of it. So I couldn't include it on my list, but I wanted to give it some homage. Of course, he has some vintage Pacino there. Maybe it'll come up on yours. Who knows? Start us off. What's your 5th favorite film about a whistleblower?
All right, so my 5th favorite film is one that I caught a bit of it when I was young, and it really kind of stuck with me. And it's the famous scene in that famous shower scene in that film, which made me want to catch up with it when I was an older adult. So my number 5 is Silkwood, directed by Mike Nichols, who did The Graduate. Stars Meryl Streep as Karen Silkwood, who is a employee of a nuclear power plant who became an activist and a whistleblower on their practices and their environmental impact, who mysteriously died in a car accident as she was starting to gain some traction in her whistleblowing efforts. Also stars Kurt Russell and Cher. It's a great film. It's kind of like just the banality and the kind of evil that is the American corporation, which will obviously come up many times. I think at least one more time on Chris's list. And it's got that famous Silkwood shower, which is still referred to this day.
That's true. That's really permeated pop culture. I've never seen Silkwood. I got to add it to my list. No, I know it's supposed to be very, very good, but I still have to check that thing out. Mm-hmm. So my number 5 then is Steven Soderbergh's The Informant, featuring just a fantastic, fun performance by Matt Damon, who plays a guy trying to, I don't really know, but he blows the whistle on his company's price-fixing schemes. And he's just a weird guy who's trying to work both sides and profit by himself, but still be the hero in his own story. Somewhat delusional. Features some fantastic performances by Damon, Scott Bakula, Joel McHale. I love Melanie Linsky, who's in this as well. It's a weird, sad, funny film, The Informant, with the exclamation point. So I made it my number 5.
Very good. All right. So my number 4 is The Insider, starring Al Pacino and Russell Crowe, whereas Pacino plays a news magazine producer who is in contact with Crowe's executive at a tobacco company, and basically trying to get him to come to public with all of the kind of shady practices and suppression of data that the big tobacco companies did to try and keep the fact that cigarettes were so dangerous to your health under wraps. For something that is so obvious to us now, it was just really interesting to see all that come out, and obviously, the performances by Pacino and Crowe are fantastic.
No, that is a pretty solid pick. In fact, it's my number 4 as well. The Insider. I mean, it's just peak Michael Mann. He does a great job with this thing. And Russell Crowe, who gained some weight. And I recently rewatched The Insider actually about 3 weeks or so ago, and it still holds up. Pacino is pretty reserved for Pacino, which is good. So I enjoyed that. But no, it's like you said, the Insider is a great film. If you haven't checked it out, you should definitely watch it as soon as possible. It's some really top shelf performances. You get the inner workings of kind of 60 Minutes and those kind of news expose shows, and everything that the tobacco industry did to shut him up, or at least try to. Some scary stuff, folks, and it's all I've read pretty true. So it's my number 4 as well.
So my number 3 surprises me on why it's not on Chris's list, but he already explained why it's not. Although, and I'm sure there's at least 2 films I can guarantee you on Chris's list that are not on my list, because I either haven't seen them or haven't seen all of them. So he'll yell at me later for that.
Good.
But my number 3 is Serpico, starring Al Pacino as a cop in 1970s New York, who is tired of the corruption and that's rampant within the force, and still is, but he's determined to try and expose that and kind of clean up the force. It's a classic performance by him. It really is a classic film. It's interesting. I read a description of this film, whereas Pacino's performance is fiery, and that's one way to put it. I mean, granted, it's got the seeds of kind of what Pacino became later in his career, but you know what? It's still a great film. Complete 180 from Michael Corleone, and it's really worth checking out. It's a classic of 70s cinema.
There you go. My number 3 then, Matt, was nominated for 7 Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Director, Screenplay, Supporting Actor, and Supporting Actress, which did win for Tilda Swinton, and that, of course, is Michael Clayton. One of my favorite kind of legal thrillers. I don't know what it is about this film, directed by Tony Gilroy, written by the man himself. But Clooney is very strong in this film. He had that big closing scene, right, when he's back in the taxi there after the big climax. And Gilroy just kind of rests the camera on him for a good 2-3 minutes or so while he's leaving. And the whole thing, though, is great. Wilkinson is fantastic. Tilda Swinton is just out of this world in this film. It's just very snappy dialogue, strong performances, and of course, as you said, Matt, another film about corporate malfeasance. So just really good. If you haven't seen Michael Clayton, it's great. It's a lot of fun. And Clooney's the top of his game, as is everybody involved.
Yeah, it didn't make my list because, much like you with Serpico, it's one of those films I haven't seen all the way through. I've seen probably 50% of it, in bits and pieces here, but I've never actually sat down to watch the whole thing.
Oh, it's so good. I watched it about 3 months ago while I was doing the dishes and making dinner.
There you go. Good dishwashing material.
Well, I watch it like once a year for like the last 4 or 5 years, so I pretty much got the beats, down at this point.
Yeah. All right, so my number 2 may surprise Chris because it's so high on my list, but this is Soderbergh's The Informant, and the reason I put it so high on this list is when we came up with this idea, it immediately popped to mind because this film is just fun. Most of these films are good or good to great, and you want to watch them, and they're fantastic film for cinema. But The Informant isn't actually a good time watching it, and just the kind of performance that Damon puts on, and it's just absolutely ridiculous and comedic, and it's worth checking out. The Informant is one of those films that, out of all of these that we're going to list, I would be most likely to watch it because it's the most lighthearted, and even when on heavy subject matter, it's still the most lighthearted take on all of this stuff, and I enjoyed it quite a bit when we watched it initially for the show.
Very good. My number 2 then is Alan J. Pakula. It's All the President's Men.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Redford, Dustin Hoffman, Jack Warden, Martin Balsam, Hal Holbrook, Jason Robards. One of the big seminal moments in the history of this country, the Watergate break-in and the Washington Post investigation of said scandal, and it is great. Exceptionally well written, strong performances by the entire cast, one of the more important moments in this country's history, and it is great because it's a political thriller, it's got real kind of stakes to it, and it's all true, which is just insane to me. Right? Mm-hmm. But it's lots of gravitas, and it is a great little film. I rewatched this again, too. I don't know why I keep leaning into these political corruption things lately.
I wonder.
I think I watched it twice in the last year. So it still holds up after all this time. And the relationship between the two of them, Hoffman and Redford, is great. So All the President's Men. Top shelf stuff, folks. Check it out.
Yeah, never seen it. Never seen second of it, which is why it's not even an honorable mention because I can't say, but I knew it would be on your list, and I don't want to take your thunder, Chris. So why don't you say what the number 1 film is?
You don't think we're gonna have
the same one?
I don't know if we are. I'm going with On the Waterfront.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, I wasn't sure. All right.
Yeah. No,
it's the 1954 classic that really blew up, right? Marlon Brando. Yeah, Carl Malden, Lee Cobb. He's basically, Brando is a longshoreman, right? And he's part of the Union, but the Union is hopelessly corrupt. And he steps forward to kind of blow the whistle, if you will. And I remember when we watched part of our Classics Marathon, right? Stuff that we hadn't seen. And I was like, all right, well, it's Brando on the waterfront. I've always heard how good it is. Folks, you have no idea how strong this film is. Every now and then you see these films that are like, well, the classics, so of course it's going to be good. And then you don't realize really how great they are. But his performance in this thing, I remember when we watched it for that marathon, I was just blown away by how strong he is in this thing. It's the dawning of a giant, and it's fantastic. I don't know. What do you have to say about On the Waterfront?
There's not much else to say about it. I mean, it's an absolute classic film and performance by Brando. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's kind of stark black and white vision of the docks and all that kind of stuff. And it's a fantastic film. You really should check it out. And if you can did you come up with any phrases for this one, like you did for James Dean? I can't remember.
Oh, I can't remember. I still think about that to this day. What I said about James Dean and Rebel Without a Cause.
Yeah.
No, I don't remember if I did.
Okay, well, that doesn't say anything against Marlon Brando, but fantastic film. But I wanted to give Chris what turned out to be the ultimate number 1.
I appreciate that. I wasn't sure you were gonna. Sorry, I don't know why. I thought you may have forgotten about it or something. I don't know why. I just felt like it might slip your mind. So.
Yeah, I don't. No, it definitely didn't slip my mind. It's funny, those films that we watched for that classic marathon, I've warmed on them, and I've watched a couple of them since we watched them the first time. They're not I don't know. Sometimes I feel like those films that are so elevated, they take time to sit with, to really determine how you feel about them.
Yeah. Every gesture an earthquake, I remember, if I remember correctly. Any honorable mentions for you?
Not really. Honestly, I was kind of going through this in this list. I haven't seen. This is not a huge genre, and the ones that are left, I don't know if I would put. I mean, obviously, there's The Report, which is okay. The Post, which was okay.
Yeah.
Aaron Brockovich, which is okay, but
That's really
I don't really love a lot of these films. So the ones I actually love are basically on this list.
I also have North Country, which you didn't mention. The film itself is a little choppy, but Charlize Theron is fantastic in it. And I would also throw in The Firm with your boy Tom Cruise and our dearly departed recently Wilford Brimley, who remember Eat Your Oatmeal. And then finally Stallone in Copland.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's got that great, with De Niro, you blew it! Stallone's attempt to back to grasp legitimacy again, right? Listen, he is really good in Copland. If you haven't seen it, his performance is very good in that film.
Yeah,
so
he's very good in that film. I don't know if everything around him is that great.
That might be fair. I still got to check out Dark Waters, too, the Ruffalo film. That's on my list. In fact, I think it was on our list at one point. We just haven't gotten around to reassigning it since all this madness. So there you go. Those are our picks for our 5 favorite films featuring whistleblowers. Shoot us an email at feedback@thefirstrun.com and let us know your thoughts. Next week, Matt. Okay. So we got a lot of stuff going on next week. I just want to prep you now. First off, we're going to be featuring Robert Eunice from Crooked Table podcast is going to be joining us, which I am very excited about. In fact, a few days before our Bill and Ted episode drops, my appearance on the Crooked Table podcast will be dropped on Tuesday. We'll be live Friday. So you'll hear me discuss Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure and Bogus Journey over there, and then you can pop over here to listen to Face the Music and The New Mutants, the elusive film that may or may not actually exist. We are going to attempt to see that and watch it. It is playing in the drive-ins around here, so we will definitely check it out. Currently, Matt, I'm going at the earliest show on a Monday at the AMC, and I am the only one in the theater. So if that holds, I may go to the theater and watch it. If it doesn't, I'm probably going to cancel my ticket and go to the drive-in. I do have a Tenet Early Access screening ticket as well at the AMC, at the Dolby Theater there. But that is sold out, which terrifies me. So I may bail on that as well. I don't know. I'm still really nervous about all this stuff. It's not like Florida's not a hot spot, right?
I mean, you should be. I mean, look at all these colleges that have opened up and suddenly they've got 500 cases in 2 days. So it's something to worry about.
Bad times, man. All right. So we can at least tell you, though, Bill and Ted Face the Music and the elusive New Mutants next week. In the meantime, check us out on Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. Do a search for The First Run. Scroll. Eventually you will find us. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a review. It'll help other people find the show. And that's it. We're going to go ahead and take an extended break, and we will see you all soon.